What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of VCCLive. This is episode 17. Today we're going to be remembering Eric Peterson. If you don't know who he was, you'll know more in a few minutes. We'll cover some of that. We're going to go over Sucralose. Gary Johnson supports vaping. And we have a couple other minor topics we're going to talk about and just kind of refresh your memory on. Hands for a Billion Lives. Some of you probably heard of that. Some of you haven't. We'll explain what it is. And there's a Larry Faircloth fundraiser event going on tomorrow in Lago, Florida that I'll be attending, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. So first off, how's things, Jay? What's going on there?
Things are going well. I've been trying to get this Hands for a Billion Lives thing together. Also looking for a new day job. So it's been a tight week for me.
Matt, how's things? What are you up to?
Not a whole lot. Getting ready to go to Vapor Expo UK here very soon in Birmingham again. And might I say, we're all very happy that you're still alive after the hurricane.
Thank you. Me too. Yeah, it didn't really affect us too much here on the West Coast so far. I'm not sure where it's going to turn or what it's going to do out when it gets back to the Atlantic, but definitely prayers for those people in Haiti and the Caribbean who were just, I don't know, man, it's just been terrible down there. And then in the east coast of Florida, I haven't seen much this morning yet about it, but I did see a little bit of video and stuff, and it looks like they're getting hammered pretty hard with wind and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like they're really scared for Jacksonville flooding and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, excuse me, one of the highest category storms to hit, Florida in quite a while. So, yeah, for everyone who evacuated, probably was a very good call. For those who didn't, hopefully you guys are okay over there on the east coast of Florida and Georgia and South Carolina, North Carolina, that whole area that's going to be affected in the next day or two. So, yeah, if you notice, Nick is not with us today. He is back in the U.S., back at home, but apparently he is sick from his travels, which is what typically happens after you go on a airplane ride for hours and hours to Europe and back. So he is not with us today, but hopefully he'll be back with us next week. 2 weeks from today, I'll be in Chattanooga, Tennessee for VCCTN 16. If you're interested, people are asking me, sometimes people drop off signing up at this point because they're not sure if we have space. We do have some space left, and we definitely need supportive sponsors and vendors. So that's another thing I want to talk about maybe later on, or I might just do a go live later on the VCC Facebook page to talk about some stuff with VCC. So yeah, hold on one second. Apparently my stuff is still
get on Facebook Live, tag all the people that have sponsored in the past, and just call them out, and I'll share it too.
Yeah. I don't know what's
mafia style.
Yeah, we'll do some things, and hope I don't know. I wanted to start off today talking about Eric Peterson, and I realized last week I played some videos over on the right monitor, and you couldn't really hear too well the audio of it. I'm not sure if it'll be that way today or not, but let me first open his. Just want to show you guys a picture of who Eric. Actually, I have it on my Facebook. I've changed it when he had a stroke a few months ago. If you don't know Eric Peterson, this is Eric. This is us at the Pittsburgh event last year, so in 2015. Eric was an advocate, helped found the Tennessee Smoke-Free Association. Just a great guy all around. He for the first, year and a half or so I knew him. He didn't work in the industry, maybe 2 years, whatever. He didn't work in the industry. He was a vapor. He helped form the TSFA. He volunteered and got involved and lived what we tell everyone to do, which is lead by example and get involved. He actually did that. Traveled, used his own time, his own money. It was crazy. He did finally get a job and start working in the industry within the last year, and he moved to Texas, and he was working for a company there. Then he started with another company. And anyway, just an overall great guy. And I think it was July 11th, he had a massive stroke, and I thought he was on the road to recovery from that. All appearances were that he was doing better little bit by little bit, and I was certainly planning on and excited to see him in a few weeks when we went up to Tennessee for the Tennessee event. But unfortunately, I think it was this past Sunday, he passed away from complications of the stroke. So, yeah, I have a video I was going to play. This is we do stage talks at each of the VCC events, and I invite the advocates up who were there. And if Eric was ever at one of the events, which he was at, I think almost all of them, certainly I was pulling him up on stage, and he had some great insight about how to start state advocacy, smoke-free associations, and advocacy chapters and stuff. And yeah, so let me see if this will work. If you guys will be able to hear it, hopefully you can. I'll turn the volume up on my speakers, and let's go to the right monitor. And it's just a short clip of Eric speaking, but it gives you an idea of his passion for this industry.
Helps you get that lobbyist. Now, the business owners need to get on that bus. But you have a voice in that. You can go into the shops and go, what group are you with? What are you doing?
And that helps. That saves time. To answer your question, e-liquid is going to be.
So I don't know if you were able to hear that or not, but what he was talking about in that short snippet, and we kind of cut in onto that segment with the video of the whole thing. But he was talking about consumers getting involved in your vape shops, and it's something that we, it's going to be something that we consistently, preach and talk about. Is that consumers need to get involved and make a difference with their wallets at vape stores, and encourage the local vape shops and B&Ms and stuff that they go to support advocacy. Basically, what he was saying was support shops, support advocacy, and consumers make your voice heard. So, Jay, I don't know if you had the pleasure to meet Eric on any occasions, or Matt, but can you maybe just tell us, something about how he affected, or something remember about Eric?
Eric was actually very helpful when we were forming the Massachusetts Smoke-Free Association. He came to a few meetings early on and really did a great job in helping to, kind of rally the troops, get us excited, get us motivated to go out and start, hammering shops to get involved, hammering consumers to get involved. He was pretty instrumental in how we formed, and he did it, all on his own time, late at night on, random Tuesdays or Wednesday nights. Just incredibly passionate, very giving person, and it's a big loss for the community.
Yeah. Matt, did you ever get a chance to meet him at any of the VCC events?
Yeah, well, I definitely regret not getting to know him better. I was introduced to him one time, and then he was one of those guys that you'd see at a lot of events, and maybe give a wave to or something. But I'd never really had the chance to hang out with him or have any one-on-one long conversations or anything.
Yeah, in retrospect, I guess we mainly talked about advocacy. I mean, we didn't live close or anything or hang out, but on occasions when we were at events, we certainly did. We would have dinner and drinks, and it would almost always inevitably be something to do with vaping advocacy, or how to improve, how to get better, how he would share ideas with me, I would share ideas with him. So anyway, Eric was a great guy. He'll certainly be missed in the vaping community, and yeah, we want to continue fighting on in his honor and lead by example, and I think he was a true believer in unity and everyone working together towards the same common goal. So, if that's something that we can keep in mind when we feel like we want to get petty or, fight infighting or anything like that, just remember why we're all doing what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen. This is about changing human lives. So, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for talking about Eric. We will miss him, but we will go on. All right, so there was another issue that I've seen a few times this week on social media, and I think Jay brought it up because, he's an e-liquid manufacturer. Obviously, he makes the e-liquid that he sells, so he has an idea about this specific topic. So we're going to give Jay a chance to talk about this, and we'll see if we have any comments, anything in the comment section with questions about it. So, Jay, it's sucralose. Tell us what you know and tell us what you've seen.
Yes. Well, the thing about sucralose is going back to when I first started manufacturing e-liquid back in 2010, 2011, much of the community centered around e-liquid manufacturing just kind of always knew to stay away from sweeteners, period, no matter what they are. Sweeteners tend to be very heavy molecules. They don't vaporize efficiently, so they can create problems when you heat them up. And much like the diacetyl witch hunts that we've been going through over the last few years, every once in a while people start talking about sucralose again. And that happened again this week. People started talking about sucralose. Now, my personal position on sucralose is that I will not vape it. I will not use it in any of my e-liquids, period. And that's true for a lot of kind of really old school juice manufacturers. There are simply too many unknowns, and we feel that a well-balanced e-liquid doesn't need to have additional sweeteners added. VG is plenty sweet on its own. That's generally my personal feeling on the matter. I don't call out individual companies who do choose to use it because it's an unknown. We don't know how harmful or if it's harmful at all. We just don't know. But we do know that there have been studies that show that when sucralose is heated, it does turn into a few distinct carcinogens. And I can provide a link to some of those studies if needed. So, much like the diacetyl witch hunt, I don't feel like we need to start burning people at the stake over this stuff. But my opinion is that if you are an e-liquid manufacturer and you're using sucralose, disclose it. That's all.
Yeah.
Disclose it.
I think it's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and ideally, I'd like to see percentages disclosed. There was a comment actually right at the start of the show saying, "Oh, I was concerned about sucralose, but I talked to an e-liquid manufacturer and they said they only use it at 1%." Well, that doesn't really mean anything in and of itself, because diacetyl, when we were talking about diacetyl, the threshold for potential harm was in the parts per million. So 1% versus 2% versus 3% doesn't really mean anything as far as toxicity, because we don't know what the level of toxicity is that would be, quote unquote, safe. Again, I don't like calling people out by name. I don't like calling out that you shouldn't vape this. It's up to the individual. Ultimately, for me, it's all about just disclosing the fact that you're using it. And that's it. Now, Matt, you had something to say?
I think it's something that's gotten a little more popular over the last couple of years because these higher VG liquids sometimes have a harder time holding the flavor, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes, they just won't be as flavorful as, 50/50 or whatever. So they get so what these guys will do is then add some sweetener to it to kind of pep it up a little bit. But
and along those same lines, again, in the veteran e-liquid manufacturers community, it's commonly known that if you don't over flavor, or if you don't use brute force to flavor your e-liquid, you don't need sweetener. If a lot of the overuse of sweetener comes from people who haven't been mixing for very long and they're impatient. They want to get stuff to market. They don't want to have to fine tune their e-liquids. So throw in some sweetener and that'll fix everything. It's kind of a Band-Aid.
What I was wondering though is, do any of the flavorings out there have sucralose already in them, or is it only going to be in there if it's added after the fact?
I believe, don't quote me because I don't use it very often, but I believe Capella's has an option to add sweetener directly to the flavoring. But in general, it's fairly rare. I know that most of my flavor manufacturers don't directly add sweetener to any of their flavorings. They rely on you to buy sweetener and add it yourself. But
Well,
certainly that's
it's
something
got
to
to
look
be
out for.
something that's giving it that, like a fruit, that sweet flavor, though. You get what I'm saying?
Not necessarily. There's a lot of kind of trickiness that goes on in flavor manufacturing. Sometimes, let me pick like a strawberry, for example. Adding strawberry to VG automatically just is going to taste sweet.
I see.
It's not until you add too much of the strawberry that it starts to become like bitter or, chemically or soapy tasting. It's at that point where adding sweetener will kind of counteract those effects. But if you don't add too much of the strawberry, the VG and the PG by in and of themselves will add a certain level of sweetness.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like adding chlorine to your pool, or chlorine and then pH balance, and you're kind of chasing and layering chemicals on top of each other in order to find the exact balance. And some people are choosing to use sucralose as an additive to get to that balance that they're looking for in the final product.
My only fear, I guess, and I'm not saying it's a good thing to put sucralose in liquids. My liquids have no added sweeteners, but like my only fear is that we don't go shoot ourselves in the foot, like I feel like we did with diacetyl, where we turned it into a witch hunt, and some people went way overboard, and then I think it got into the public eye outside of vaping before, Vanessa's had a nurse come to her at work and be like, you could get popcorn lung from that, And I feel like we partially did that to ourselves, so I hope we don't do that.
You're absolutely 100% right, and that's why typically I don't go public with this.
Yeah,
but it's come up so often.
I think it's fine to have a dialogue like this about it. You know what I'm saying? But like some people,
from what I'm getting, you're saying, Jay, less is more. You can achieve it without having to use sucralose. Just be patient.
In my opinion,
actually, if you're making e-liquid, learn the art of making e-liquid instead of trying to take shortcuts. And
in my opinion, yes. But again, I'm not going to fault anybody for using it necessarily. Again,
let's keep in mind
is key.
What this all is. This is tobacco harm reduction.
Right.
This is not tobacco harm elimination. Mm-hmm. Even if someone has sucralose, and I'm not a scientist, and please note this is just my opinion and observation. I'm not a scientist. I haven't studied this. But I do know for a fact that tobacco cigarettes, when you smoke them, produce at least 50 distinct carcinogens. They have 4,000 to 8,000. I've seen that number vary a lot. Chemicals in them, upon burning this plant matter in paper and inhaling it into your lungs. Even if you had a sweetened product, the vaping product, I would still venture to guess it would be less harmful. And I know we can't say that as manufacturers or whatever, but you know what I'm saying. I'm talking about scientific facts right now, not my. This is a fact. The Royal College of Physicians out of the United Kingdom has stated that vaping is at least 95% less harmful than combustible tobacco. So even if you were to have, sucralose in there or some levels of diacetyl, the levels of diacetyl in a combusted tobacco cigarette are astronomical. So, So yeah, just keep in mind this is harm reduction, not harm elimination, and that's what we're doing here.
Right. And a large part of the witch hunt centered around diacetyl was people not disclosing or not disclosing correctly. And it wasn't just diacetyl; it was AP and acetylene. There were other compounds that were close enough to the molecular structure to diacetyl to potentially create the same problem.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and I don't want anyone to. Again, this is just playing devil's advocate for the fact that we're on a show, and I want to have a more dialogue about this. So if you're watching, don't misinterpret it and don't crucify me. But to play devil's advocate for just a second, where do you see on a pack of cigarettes or a carton of cigarettes any disclosure about the 50 carcinogens that it creates when you burn them?
No, you don't. But I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that either. But I'm saying if you're going to, if there are people out there, especially in the public health sphere, like the American Cancer Society and American Lung Association and all those places that are saying vaping is just as bad for you as smoking cigarettes. First of all, cigarettes are grandfathered in under the FDA deeming regulations because they were on the market prior to February 15, 2007.
Right.
We know that they kill hundreds of thousands of people in the United States every year, millions across the world every year. They die from direct linkage to using long-term use of combustible tobacco cigarettes. So, I mean, I think perspective is something that really we as human beings tend to lose focus of. And the perspective here is this is a less harmful alternative to combustible tobacco, period. Should it be disclosed what you're taking into your body? Yeah, absolutely, it should. But by the same coin, it should also be on packs of cigarettes and cartons of cigarettes.
Well, now when I talk about disclosure, I'm not necessarily saying that there should be a warning on the label. I'm saying when a consumer asks you, is there any of XYZ compound in this e-liquid, you need to either say yes,
Correct.
no, or don't know, don't care.
Right.
But you need to be honest.
But
with
the
your
fact is,
consumers.
the consumer will have will be able to make an informed decision.
Exactly.
Right, I agree with that,
And it
100%.
would be the same thing for cigarettes. I mean, cigarette manufacturers lied to us for decades about what was in them, what was added to them, all sorts of stuff.
Right.
What I don't want to see is I don't want to see the same mistakes made again with the e-liquid industry.
Right.
I understand that, and I definitely think some companies made a mistake there, although some said, well, one of our employees didn't know any better or whatever. But on the same token, we don't need a vigilante like Russ going around freaking murdering people over it because he really doesn't care other than trying to make attention.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's my controversial statement of the day, but
I love
Well,
Russ, but
controversy.
I'm definitely with you on that. He definitely went after that, just kind of crazy. He
did it to get his own rocks off and get attention for himself.
Yeah, and it worked.
That was my opinion. I'd say it to his face.
Yeah, I mean, sucralose, good, bad, or indifferent. Some manufacturers use it. I think it's a good idea just to ask the manufacturer if you're concerned about it. Jay, do you have any links to any studies? I know you said that. I mean, if you can send them to me in the chat after the show's over, I'll be sure to include them in the description down there underneath the video replay on YouTube. And again, if you're watching this, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this right now. If you're watching live and you haven't smashed that like button, please do it right now for us. It really helps us with SEO on Google. And also remember, too, that the comments that you're making during the live session do not transfer over once the video is rendered. So if you have something that you said or maybe a question that we addressed during the live portion of the show on YouTube, just put it in just add a comment after the video is already rendered and up. So yeah, please hit that like button right now. If you're watching live, share the live feed on your social media outlets. Maybe we'll get some more people watching live right now. If not, share the replay once we post it up on the Facebook, YouTube group for VCCLive. So yeah, I mean, to wrap up, sucralose, we'll put some links in the description that you can go as a consumer, as a vapor, and make some informed decisions about what it is exactly you want to put into your body, what you're going to vape, what liquids. We're not saying good, bad, or indifferent. We're just saying the more you know, the better off you are. So,
Absolutely.
Any wrap-up thoughts on that, Jay or Matt?
No, I think it's good for everybody to obviously inform themselves and like you said, put it into perspective.
Right.
It's
And it's not just a health concern either. I mean, there are business implications. People complain that heavily, laden sucralose e-liquids kill coils a lot faster. People spend a lot of time building these coils, and then if you use a heavy sucralose e-liquid, the thing turns into charcoal within 2 days. As opposed to a cleaner e-liquid, you can get a good 2 weeks or more out of a good coil. So there are other implications other than just potential safety hazards.
All right, so the next topic we're going to talk about, and something that I think we'll let Matt run with, is Gary Johnson. He is an independent running for president of the United States, and he came out this week, I think, after a lot of contact from people in the vaping industry, Kurt from Cloud Chasers Inc. being one of the main ones, in support of vaping. I want to show you something here that's pretty cool. I just did a quick search in Google, see if I could find an article that I could share with you on this topic. And look what one of the top results that came up. And we've only been live for 28 minutes right now, 27 minutes. Look.
We're already up there, huh?
Yeah, Google's already snatched us from YouTube because I put Gary Johnson supports vaping, and then boom, we're up in the results. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, Matt, while I'm looking for something to share, maybe you can kind of give us an overview of what you know about what happened this week with that in his presidential campaign.
Basically, Gary Johnson's, oh gosh, what's the guy's name? The guy's title that actually wrote the letter. Do you guys remember?
Oh, he was like the public relations rep or something like that. Yeah,
something like that. Kurt's been doing a good job at kind of hammering them, and I think other campaigns trying to get them to basically take a stance on vaping. And so he finally got a letter back from that campaign, and it was pretty positive. I mean, you could definitely look at it as, they support our cause. They obviously made it like a broader thing about regulation, and they're not for it, and how many businesses will be killed if these regs stand and stuff. And they basically said that they think the regs are ridiculous. So that's great.
So I'm going to go over to the right monitor real quick, just to interrupt you really quickly here, especially for the people listening on the podcast version. I'll read this just really quickly so they have an idea what you're talking about. Say hey to Vanessa, by the way. We just saw her walking in the background there.
Kevin says hi.
From the campaign office of Gary Johnson and Bill Weld. After a persistent effort from our good friend and co-owner of Cloud Chasers, Inc., Kirk Lobick, the following statement was released late Thursday evening, 10/3/16, by Jim Wallace, the National Director of the Johnson Weld campaign. Speaking to concerned vapers, Jim Wallace, National Director of the Johnson Weld 2016 campaign, said, quote, "In the first debate, voters listened to two candidates dance around the American economy. What you'll never hear from those candidates is how the economy is being killed by excessive regulation. Vaping, a new industry offering products as a healthier alternative to smoking, is about to be regulated out of existence. That doesn't make any sense," end quote. Citing figures from industry sources, Wallace continued, quote, "The vaping industry currently counts about 9 million customers, producing about $4 billion a year in annual sales. With the excessive regulations recently introduced by the FDA, as many as 12,000 vaping businesses will be put out of business. As Governor Gary Johnson has said, the free market and entrepreneurial spirit should be encouraged, not destroyed. Nowhere is this more obvious than the vaping industry," end quote. That's Jim Wallace, National Director for the Johnson Weld campaign. So just so people kind of have a better idea of what you're going to continue to talk about there, Matt.
Yeah, so it's a really nice letter, and I think we should continue maybe pressuring the campaign to say more. I don't know if they posted that on their website or anything as well, but I think we should kind of keep pushing them to be more public about it, obviously, and I think it's definitely a positive thing. No, but with our vape community, as we know how it all is. It turned toxic fast, basically, on a lot of posts. And a lot of people, I think, maybe missed the point. This isn't about telling people to vote for Gary Johnson. This isn't about, a vote for Gary Johnson is a vote for Hillary Clinton or whatever. The point is just having a public person, somebody that's famous right now, talk about it and, bringing it more into the public eye. Rather, it doesn't matter what campaign talked about it. So a lot of people took that as, let's start arguing politics, and you know what I'm saying. And it just turned into a shit show on lots of different Facebook posts. But the point was really just that somebody's talking about it, and we should keep pushing all of them, all the different candidates, to make statements and make a stand on it.
Yeah, well, I don't think on this show, at least, or if you guys want to, you certainly can. There's nothing. I'm not endorsing or supporting, not that it would really fucking matter anyway, but any of the candidates for office. But what I'm going to say is this. In the comments, Chad, you just said Trump has stated in every rally he's against the FDA's overregulation of every business, and that may be true. But Gary Johnson's campaign specifically came out and mentioned vaping and the vaping industry, and whether he wins, whether he doesn't win. It's going to garner us some much needed positive public media, hopefully positive public media, because we are severely losing the PR campaign and with respect to the vaping industry and vapor products. And so, yeah, along the lines of what Matt was saying, it's not so much that we or anyone else is endorsing Gary Johnson for president, but we do endorse anyone who has some public image and says something or states something positive about vaping.
Right. And Nick from Daily Vape TV just said, Phil Basardo said it best. If you're a one-issue voter, here's where your vote needs to go at this point, until we get some more answers from either Trump or Clinton.
Well, I mean,
then the alternate argument to that people say is they'll say, well, yeah, but Trump's more likely to be friendly to vaping than Hillary, which might be true. But then they're all, everyone argues, well, if you vote for Gary, you're taking votes away from Trump, and it's just politics.
Yeah, not to go too far down the political road, but the reason why Gary has been getting, he's been kind of under a lot of heat lately is because they've found that he's actually pulling more votes away from Hillary right now. So that's why the media's been hammering on him, that whole Aleppo thing, and him not being able to name a favorite foreign leader, that kind of stuff. He's been getting hammered in the media lately, only because he's actually pulling more votes away from Hillary.
He's getting a lot of the young vote. He's getting some of the Bernie supporters, even though they only agree with like half of the ideology when it comes to social issues. But he is getting a lot of those younger folks that possibly would have voted for Bernie.
Well, right. Let me put it into a context that we can understand in the vaping industry. This is just my opinion again. Gary Johnson has about as much chance of winning as HR 2058 does of passing. Does that mean that either one of those would be bad options? Hell no, it doesn't mean that. It's just, let's face the facts and face reality, ladies and gentlemen. Until we change the way politics runs in this country, especially at the presidential level, we're a two-party system. And it sucks sometimes because when you have, again, not to get too political, but when you have candidates that you're constantly looking at what is the lesser of two evils, the saying is the lesser of two evils, not the lesser of three evils. I just don't think that Gary Johnson has a huge chance of success. He's pulling votes away from one or both of the leading candidates. But what is fortunate is he's bringing some attention. His campaign is bringing some attention to the overregulation and the decimation of the vaping industry by the FDA and the federal government. And that is the point. That's the takeaway from this conversation. That's the takeaway from the letter. And that's the takeaway from all the time invested by Cloud Chasers Inc. and many other people to get in contact. And that's pretty much the point of us bringing it up. I mean, we're not saying support or endorse Gary Johnson by any means, but we do need more positive media attention brought to vaping and the decimation of this industry, because I don't think there's been enough of it.
One thing that is interesting, though, I'll just really quickly, because I know we're not talking politics, is that in the U.S.
we're talking a lot about politics. We're not talking a lot about politics.
We do everything in baby steps. Okay, like guys like Bernie or Gary Johnson wouldn't have gotten 1% of the vote 8 years ago. And the fact that both of those candidates have gotten as much attention as they have this time around tells me that 4 to 8 years down the road, shit could get a little crazy and interesting with the outsider candidates, or you know what I'm saying. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I say good job to those who were able to influence a campaign with as much attention to get vaping and the overregulation of vaping into the public eye. It's not as sexy as some of the other news stories out there right now, so let's see how much they actually run with it. But, yeah.
Well, that's why people should definitely, send the Johnson campaign messages or letters or call and kind of urge them to say more about it publicly. It's one thing them sending an email to someone in the vaping industry, but it would be another thing if they posted that on their website or said something in one of their mass emails that they do.
Well, just as a word of caution, I would say if you're going to spend effort and time into doing something like this, and I know some of the people who have contacted Gary Johnson's campaign probably already have, but Make sure you're spending an equal amount of effort and time contacting your representatives and urging them to support Cole Bishop. The inclusion of Cole Bishop into the funding package for this December's vote, because I promise you that's infinitely more important than whether or not Gary Johnson gets a news story about vaping out there. If we don't get Cole Bishop passed, if we don't get it through, if we don't change the predicate date, we're fucked anyway. So what does it matter? Jay?
Yes.
My name's Jay DeLuca, and I support this message.
Feel the Johnson.
All right. Feel the Johnson, Jesus. All right. So, moving on. We're going to talk for a second. Any comments or anything in chat about that, by the way, Jay? I've been kind of not really paying attention to chat.
A lot of smiles. Demetrius has decided to join us. That's nice. Hey, Demi.
What's up, Demi? Paula, Ash, Mitch, thank you guys for joining. Now, you know how I know Nick from Vaping Joe, and I'm about to talk about his event that he's doing tomorrow. Nick's from Vaping Joe, the Vapors Depot. He's calling me right now, so obviously he's not watching us live. So thanks for that, Nick Orlando. So that's the next thing I wanted to talk about really quickly here. We're going to go to this. I'll be doing this. I'll be there tomorrow. I'll probably be there from about 6 to 8 or so, 6 to 9. I went to an event a few weeks ago down in the Largo, Clearwater, St. Pete area where a vape shop was doing a fundraiser for the Larry Faircloth lawsuit. And so let's go over to the right monitor here real quick. At the Vapors Depot tomorrow in Largo, they are having another event. That's not the thing I was looking for. Tomorrow from 6 to 10, 101 Clearwater, Largo Road, Suite 1. If you guys want to come out, talk about some advocacy, get some support and rallying for the Larry Faircloth. He is a public official, representative out of West Virginia, who is suing the FDA. And his lawsuit obviously needs financial support as well. And there was a flyer on this, but I do not know where it's at. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, this is it right here. This is the right one I was looking for. So you can see we have some support from different people, and we'll be having raffles. VCC Liquids, of course, is contributing the whole line, 75 milliliter bottles of each. And we're going to do some raffles and different things in support of Larry Faircloth's lawsuit. So if you are around tomorrow in the Tampa Bay area and you want to head over 6 o'clock, you can look up the information here. Please come check that out. Meet up with us, discuss advocacy and what you can do to get involved and support that. So, and then we have, which I think Jay is going to talk about real quick, but I'll come over to it really quickly here. Hands for a Billion Lives. So, Jay, you want to talk while I'm kind of scrolling around the website, which you can find at handsforabillionlives.com. I will post a link in the description to that as well.
Sure, I can speak to what my experience has been so far getting involved with this. So I was contacted by Shell Hamill over in Texas regarding possibly getting involved in this project, which essentially the aim of which is to hold a rally on, I think it's the 22nd of October, which is actually pretty quickly, to hold a rally at a public location in every state in the United States. And the goal ultimately, I think, is to just draw attention to the fact that, a billion lives will be lost over the next however so many years due to the FDA regulations. And, incidentally, also promote the Billion Lives film. So we've been working over the last week and a half or so, just trying to get representatives in each state that have the ability and the resources to organize such an effort. Literally, it's just finding a public place, letting your local media know, and just holding hands with each other silently, preferably with a Billion Lives t-shirt if you have one. So we'll see how that goes over the next couple of weeks. I've picked a potential location in Massachusetts for it, Boston Common. That's probably the most intuitive site for such an event. But we'll see how that goes. I'm actually going to be in Tennessee that weekend. At least that's what my plans are. So I need to
Yeah.
find some other facilitators in the area that can help me with that.
I'm going to share that too because Dimitri contacted me within the last week about doing something at the VCCTN event in Chattanooga at the Convention Center. As you can see, Tennessee is listed there. And the date and time that I got was October 22nd at 2:22 p.m.
Correct.
I'm seeing some different
10/22,
ones.
2/22.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm seeing different ones. Like this one says October 21st at 7 p.m. So I thought it was supposed to be all at the same time. I guess I'm a little bit confused on the logistics of it, but
Well, when you have, at least 50 people trying to organize something, some wires are going to get crossed, especially when you're trying to do it on short notice like this.
right.
But at our last meeting, which I think was Monday, we had decided on the 22nd at 2:22.
Yeah, someone asked me to show Wyoming, so let me just put that information up there real quick on the video. We will have a link to this website in the description, so if you're curious about when and if something is happening close to you, check this page out. It's on the locations, time, and date tab. But here's Wyoming.
It's literally just handsforabillionlives.com
Right.
if you guys want to check it out.
So, yeah, I mean, that's, definitely something that we are behind and want to get behind and make sure that if you can attend one of the local events that are happening around you, and if you're going to VCCTN 16 in Chattanooga, Tennessee, obviously we'll be making announcements about it. If you have a Billion Live shirt, please wear it. I'm sure we'll have some photo ops there and try to get some stuff, maybe do a write-up and get some stuff in the media. You're welcome, Byron. Thank you for tuning in. There's information on the website. We'll post up that for you to follow the link to and contact any of the local representatives who it looks like they're updating it fairly quickly. I didn't see Massachusetts on there yet, but I'm sure that they'll have some information on there for you for Massachusetts and any of the other states. So very cool. Very good thing to get behind. So let's see. We're at 45 minutes, and that's all that we had scheduled to talk about today. Is there anything else that you guys can think about, or maybe any questions in general from the chat? Just also to remember, if you're in the chat and you have not hit that like button, please do so now. Be sure to share the replay when it comes up, and we'll have Jay usually takes a day or so to get the audio from this live
Or a week.
broadcast on YouTube, or a week. Just depends, but it will be eventually up on smokefreeradio.com as well on the replay. Yeah, I'm looking at some of the comments. Just one from Mitch here. It says he was at the doctor's office last month, told him that he was vaping. They're always telling him to quit smoking. The nurse told him that there was antifreeze in the juice. So you can see that several years into this, we're still getting some of the same bullshit propaganda that was put out. And it's exactly why we need more. Hello, Nick Orlando says hello, everyone, after he calls me during the live show.
Vanessa had to go to her mandatory checkup today for her insurance, and she told them that she vaped and stuff, and they did. They pulled the same kind of shit. Gave her a hotline for smoking cessation and stuff, and it's like, that's what I'm basically doing, even though we don't say it we don't call it cessation, but they just so many fucking people that are still uneducated on the topic.
Yeah, I'm rewatching Friends. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Friends, but just to kind of give you an idea of the feeling about 18 years ago, because this was in 1998 on this specific episode, the one where Rachel smokes. And she starts working for Ralph Lauren, and she goes down with her bosses they're always making, decisions on their smoke break. So she is trying to fit in with them and pretends that she's smoking, and then convinces them to quit and tells them that they'll use the patch together and stuff like that. And what's funny is it cuts to a scene a few minutes later, and both of her bosses are back downstairs smoking again. And she's like, "What are you doing? I thought we were quitting." And they were like, "We were using the patch. We were patch buddies," or something like that. And they were like, "Yeah, those things don't work." I was like, even 18 years ago, way, way before e-cigarettes were even a thing, I think people had a pretty good idea of the fail rate of NRT products that are approved by the FDA and are supposed to be getting people off of combustible tobacco. So, anyway, I just thought that was funny in pop culture, how I see things now and notice things Any other comments from chat? Anyone have any questions in chat? Anything that you want us to cover? We have about, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes left. If not, we can end it early. It's not a huge deal. We'll be back next week for sure. And then 2 weeks from now, we will be off because all three of us hopefully will be in Tennessee for VCCTN at Chattanooga Convention Center. Just to kind of refresh your memory on that. If you're watching this and you know of any vendors who you would want to see there who's not on the vendor list already, please reach out to them, contact them, have them get in touch with me, Kevin Skipper, admin at vapingcc.com. I'll definitely get back in contact with them and see if we can get, the last few spaces. We do have some spaces remaining for sure. So, yeah. The law in Pennsylvania, I haven't seen anything this week. I know, again, that they're pursuing the House bill with the 5 cents per milliliter to replace the 40% floor tax. But I don't know about YouTube. Have you guys seen anything this week? I haven't seen any movement on it this week.
No, I haven't seen anything. I mean, it's going to be a slow roller, unfortunately.
And the thing is that even if they get it passed, again, the huge push that I've been seeing the last week is to contact Governor Wolf and urge him not to veto the new legislation.
Mm-hmm. I do have some questions coming up in chat. Do you guys think it's a good idea to have so many groups being funded for the same thing? I believe this is from Ash. I believe they were referring to, the fact that we have CASA, we have the
Absolutely.
ABA, we have, the VTA, all these different groups. So if anybody wants to tackle that, I certainly have my opinion.
It's a great idea. The more people you have on board from different perspectives, pursuing different angles, absolutely. Why wouldn't it be?
Well, I
they
think
all do a little bit different things. Too.
Right,
I mean, there
right.
are a few orgs that are kind of the same, but they do different. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what this person is trying to get at, is that wouldn't it be more efficient to just have one big organization like the NRA, like for vaping? Unfortunately, I don't think that would work in this industry right now. There are so many different fights. Once there's a little more consolidation, maybe one organization could do it all. But right now, I mean, CASA is strictly a consumer advocates group. The AVA is strictly a PR firm. The VTA is they're primarily focused on legislative efforts, correct? Or not legislative, but judicial efforts, right?
Who, the VTA? They're mainly federal lobbying, and they're focusing on the federal level. Yes.
Federal lobbying, okay. And then there's the multitude of state organizations spread across the SFATA and the smoke-free organizations. They all have different roles, and until we find a level of leadership and structure within the industry and community, this is just how it's going to have to be for now.
Well, I think when people try to compare what we're doing here to something like the NRA, keep in mind the NRA has been around for a long time. They're very well funded.
Exactly.
Will at some point we be there? Probably at some point. But you're talking about an industry with associations that have been around for 6 years or less. So yeah, I think for what it is, for now, this is the approach that we're going to have to take. And then over the as time goes by, if we're able to get Cole Bishop through, and if we're able to change the predicate date and save the industry.
Also, another argument is that we don't really want the consumer organizations together with the business organizations, because with the regulations now, the consumer organizations can say things that the business organizations can't. For example, health claims, things like that.
Excellent point. Point.
So that's because I kind of felt that same way in the past. Like, why don't we all get together into one big mega group? And then after talking to Alex from CASA about it and stuff, he's definitely made some good points as to where they would kind of, be tied back a little bit from being able to say some of the things that they can say now, being independent from the business organizations.
So Mitch asks, he's essentially just asking if we're all former smokers. Quick answer: yes, I am.
Yes, I smoked 15 years smoker.
I smoked for 25 years before finally discovering e-cigs.
Mine was 15 years, pack and a half a day, before I discovered e-cigs in 2013. And Matt, I think, was as well. I think Matt started as a teenager. I started when I was 21, which is...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I smoked for, 12, 13 years. I had oral cancer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's squamous cell carcinoma. I had to have surgery on my mouth. That was
Wow.
one of the things that finally got me to say fuck it. I'm done this time.
Yeah, I'm seeing a few comments about Kasab. Yes, Kasab is just consumers. Dimitri says Kasab is on a bus full of ads. I think he's talking about the Right to Vape tour. Yeah, that is true point. So, I don't know if you
Any
all want me to
updates on
discuss that further.
Indiana?
Any updates on Indiana?
I have not heard anything about Indiana in the past week.
I haven't heard anything on Indiana in a while. So no, but we can find out more if that's something of interest to you. Brad, we'll definitely find out more. I'll get some updates from Amy Lane maybe, and maybe we can have her on the show one of these days. And I also was trying to
the
get...
last news in Indiana was just that the one company got the injunction.
Yeah, that was...
We haven't anything since then.
Good cat. So yeah, that's the last thing that that we had to talk about for that. All right, well, we're a few minutes early, but I think we're going to wrap it up unless anyone else has anything earth-shattering to say right now. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget your comments do not transfer over. So if you have anything relevant that you want on the YouTube replay, to make sure to copy and paste that over as soon as it's rendered. We will be back next week. Hopefully Nick will be joining us if he is feeling better, which I think he should be hopefully by next week. And 2 weeks from now, we'll be in Chattanooga for VCCTN 16. Yeah, that's about all I can think of. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share the video. Jay, any last thoughts? Anything going on this weekend?
Just filling orders.
Okay.
Trying to get my butt to Tennessee this month.
That's a good thing. Matt, anything going on this weekend for you?
So I can visit
Um,
Amy.
Not this weekend. Just getting ready for our trip to go to England. So we are leaving. We're going there a little bit early because we're going to go to Scotland for a couple of days first. So we're leaving Sunday.
All right, well, I'll be tomorrow at the Vapors Depot in Largo. Meet Larry W. Faircloth. We're going to help support his lawsuit against the FDA. Yeah, that's all I got. Remember, you don't have to do everything. You do have to do something. Get involved.